In the humid dusk of December 1960, in the bustling district of Gia Dinh, Vietnam, a boy was born who would one day walk not only the world's roads, but also the harder path of inner peace. His birth name was Quang. Later, destiny gave him a name in the ancient language of the Buddha, Ritnaguna, jeweled virtue. From a young age, Quang felt life more intensely than most. While other children played beside the canals of Saigon, he often sat quietly and watched leaves drift on the water. He sensed impermanence before he had a word for it. He felt life was more than markets and street noise. He felt a deeper current beneath everything. That feeling grew into a hunger for truth. When he was 12, Quang told his astonished parents he wanted to become a monk. In Vietnam, people respected monastic life, so the wish did not shock them. Still, his calm voice and steady gaze made one thing clear. This choice was not temporary. This choice was the foundation of his life. In July 1972, at Phom Minh Pagoda in Go Vap, he shaved his head and donned the ochre robes as a novice. The ceremony was simple, yet the moment carried weight. A quiet turning point had begun, one that would later touch thousands of lives. The temple courtyard smelled of incense and held a deep silence. For a boy who had never known real stillness, this quiet felt both soothing and demanding. The monks moved with calm purpose. They woke before dawn, they chanted. They meditated as the sky slowly brightened. Young Ritnaguna struggled at first. The early morning cold pierced his bones. His mind jumped like a restless animal. Still, each evening he sat beneath the Bodhi tree, softened his gaze, and returned to the breath. He learned stillness through steady effort. Meditation did not feel mystical to him. It felt like honest work. It felt like training. In July 1981, after years of study and disciplined monastic life, he received full ordination as a bhikkhu in Saigon. Temple bells rang that day. He felt a deeper truth in the sound. Each bell reminded him, everything changes. His teacher saw something rare in him. He carried balance. He held compassion with quiet strength. Monks sought his counsel. Lay followers listened closely. He spoke without arrogance. His humility made people feel safe to open their hearts. The world moved fast. Wars, migrations, and upheaval reshaped lives. Vietnamese communities scattered across borders, carrying home in food, music, language, and faith. Within this diaspora, Ritnaguna felt a clear call to serve. He traveled to the United States and eventually settled in Fort Worth, Texas, at Hong Dao Temple. There he became president of the Vipassana Bhavana Center, a place for meditation, study, and community. For Vietnamese refugees and for Americans alike, the temple became a refuge. Fort Worth felt nothing like Vietnam. The sky stretched wide, the air felt dry, winters cut sharp. Still, inside the quiet hall, with candlelight against pale walls, the Buddha's teachings took root. Ritnaguna taught Vipassana, insight meditation. He did not present it as a technique. He taught it as a way to live. Awareness in the breath, awareness in pain, awareness in joy. If life includes suffering, then awareness becomes the path through suffering. Students learned physical stillness first. Then they learned emotional stillness. They saw how the mind pulls toward past and future, like a river that never stops moving. They learned how to sit beside the river without falling in. Ritnaguna did not act distant or unreachable. He felt steady and grounded, like the earth. Years in the monastery gave him patience. Years in the West gave him flexibility. Western students arrived with questions that were not academic. They carried grief, trauma, and pressure. Some carried ambition disguised as spirituality. Ritnaguna listened first and spoke second. He rarely spoke about himself. Many monks do not. Still, his silence taught as much as his words. Students learned how to meet their own shadows without fear. One evening, a student asked, "Venerable, I try to meditate, but my thoughts wander all the time. How do I stop them?" Ritnaguna smiled with understanding. "Thoughts are clouds," he said. "You do not stop clouds. You watch them pass." The student sat quietly and felt something new. Struggle did not mean failure. Struggle was part of the path. By 2025, a new initiative took shape, the Walk for Peace. The world felt loud, divided, and heavy with unrest. People needed more than speeches. They needed presence, courage, and footsteps. This time, the person leading the journey was not Ritnaguna himself. It was his devoted student, Bhikkhu Pannakara. Ritnaguna watched quietly as Pannakara prepared. Years of training and guidance shaped Pannakara into a monk ready to walk into towns and into human suffering without losing his center. Ritnaguna's mentorship stayed subtle but strong. He offered guidance in quiet conversations. He reminded Pannakara that leadership begins with self-awareness. Before the walk began, Ritnaguna told him, "Peace is not a title you earn, Pannakara. Peace is a path you walk, one step at a time, with awareness and compassion." Pannakara bowed and carried those words into each breath and each step. The journey began quietly. Monks, lay people, elders, and children joined. They moved through small towns, cities, and open countryside. At times, Ritnaguna walked short segments. More often, he stayed in the background, guiding without seeking attention. Along the way, people brought every kind of human experience: joy, sorrow, anger, fear, hope. Pannakara taught them to breathe through difficulty. He taught them to soften anger into understanding. He taught them to see each moment as a chance to act with compassion. At a rest stop in a small Texas town, a woman approached Pannakara with tears. Her husband had died the year before. Grief weighed on her every day. Pannakara knelt and listened. Then he said softly, "Grief is love in another form. You honor what was by holding it gently, without clinging and without resisting." From a distance, Ritnaguna watched. He felt quiet pride. He saw his student embody what they had practiced for years. The Walk for Peace reached beyond the United States. In Sri Lanka, a land rich with Buddhist history, Pannakara was welcomed by monks and lay followers. Ritnaguna was not present, yet he had prepared Pannakara with careful advice. He emphasized humility, clarity, and the skill of witnessing suffering without judgment. At sunrise beside the Indian Ocean, Pannakara addressed a crowd. "Peace does not come from outside. Peace begins within, in our breath, in our attention, and in our willingness to see life clearly." Each step is a prayer. Each step is a commitment to compassion. People listened with full hearts. They felt the power of the example, not only the words. Ritnaguna's teaching lived inside each step, even while he remained out of view. Throughout the journey, Ritnaguna reminded Pannakara and other young monks that true leadership rests on inner stillness. One afternoon, beneath a wide oak tree, Pannakara asked, "Venerable, how do we keep peace in a world full of chaos?" Ritnaguna smiled as the breeze moved the leaves. "Peace is a seed," he replied. "The world might be harsh soil, but each moment of mindful attention waters the seed. Your task is not to control the world. Your task is to nurture clarity and compassion inside yourself. The rest will spread outward." Pannakara understood. Walking for peace was not only public service, it was inner training. After months of walking, listening, teaching, and meeting people, the journey returned to Fort Worth. Pannakara felt exhausted, yet brightened by what he had learned. Ritnaguna greeted him without fanfare, with calm recognition. "You walked well, Pannakara. Remember, this is only the beginning. Each day you live with awareness, you continue the walk." The community understood. The journey was not measured in miles. It was measured in awareness planted, compassion shared, and hearts touched. Venerable Ritnaguna's life stayed rooted in practice and teaching, yet his influence spread through his students. Pannakara's walk for peace stands as a living example of Ritnaguna's guidance, discipline, wisdom, and compassion. This story reminds us that leadership does not require spotlight. Real influence often moves quietly through steady example, patient guidance, and the long work of cultivating virtue in others. Ritnaguna's legacy lives less in titles and more in the lives changed by his teaching, and in the footsteps of students like Pannakara, who carry jeweled virtue into the world. Peace is not a destination. Peace is a path, and step by step, the teaching continues to shine. If this story touches you, I want to ask something simple. What are you most curious about in this journey? 1. The early life and training of Venerable Ritnaguna. 2. How a quiet teacher shapes generations through guidance. 3. How inner stillness turns into action for peace. Please leave a number, 1, 2, or 3. Thank you for reading with a sincere heart. May your path be steady, clear, and peaceful. Namo Buddhaya.